Java with Joe, the podcast, is brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, celebrating over 90 years of quality service to our membership. Sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee, the official coffee of Java with Joe, and Real Vision.
Also by Bethesda Butler Tri-Health Hospital and Cincinnati State Workforce Development Center.
And now your host, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance, Joe Hinson.
Thank you. We're with Jacki Williams, Program Manager with the Alzheimer's Association, Southeastern Indiana, Butler and Warren counties. Welcome, Jacki.
Thank you. We're happy to be here today.
Good. So you were born and raised in Dayton, Ohio.
Yes, I was. My father was military in his early part of his life and career, moved around a little bit, and we settled here in Dayton where I was born, and have been around Dayton for several years, moved away for a bit, but definitely found my way back here. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you attended Miami University, receiving a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing.
I did.
Yeah.
Close to home still, but
Yeah,
definitely was really one of the highlights of my life. I really enjoyed my time at Miami.
Well, and so then there was a kind of a shift here because you have an MBA from the University of Connecticut. So why Connecticut? Why UConn?
So, well, I ended up soon after college getting married and went to Connecticut to follow my husband, who had been transferred to that area to open up a sales region for his company, who was based here in Dayton, Ohio. And while I was up there, I decided that, it's a good time to transition, and found myself back at the University of Connecticut to get an MBA.
Very good. Very good. So you also started your business career in Connecticut and then obviously in North Carolina at some well-known companies. So very impressive. Timex, Hasbro, Levalor.
Yes.
So when you moved from company to company, obviously you stayed with some very prominent names.
Yes, yeah. So I was a marketing major and really enjoyed my marketing career. Provided a lot of wonderful different opportunities and some consumer brand companies. And each time I was able to get new and different experiences and continue to progress in my own career.
Very good. In 2009, your mother was diagnosed with dementia. And then the following year, your father was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. Yes. Obviously, changes in your life, obviously, with your parents.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when my mom got diagnosed, we all kind of started seeing that something was going on with her. We were able to finally get the diagnosis in 2009. We had started seeing those signs much earlier than that, up to a couple of years earlier, but it just takes a while to get that diagnosis. So yeah, in 2009, she was diagnosed. Shortly thereafter, in 2010, my father was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. He ultimately passed away. Yeah. And at that point, we really started recognizing just how far our mom had declined. And it was really one of those situations where we were at a crossroads. What do we do? How do we care for her? And I was living in North Carolina at the time, and she was still here in Dayton, Ohio. And we needed to figure out a plan for that. So at that point, my husband and my two children and I decided to pack up our lives in North Carolina. And we moved back to Ohio and actually moved in with her. And I was her caregiver, full-time caregiver.
So that was in 2012?
That was in 2012. Yes.
Yes. And so that occurred. You came back here and you found yourself a member of the sandwich generation.
Yes,
explain to us what that is.
So I was really fortunate in that the company that I was working for in North Carolina at the time, when I had to make the move here, had offered that I could work part-time and from a distance, which that was well before COVID and long before a lot of people were working from home and permitted to work from home. So I had the opportunity to still care for my mom and still work and have an income and health insurance and those type of things. So the sandwich generation, though, is a generation of individuals who find themselves in a point of their life where they are still raising their children who are 18 or younger, but at the same time now have some really heavy caregiving responsibilities for older adults' parents, maybe even grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever that case may be. So, and of many 2/3 of individuals who find themselves in that category of the sandwich generation are also still trying to work and maintain their own income, health insurance, and cover the expenses for their family.
Jackie, there are an estimated 2.2 million sandwich generation caregivers providing care to someone with Alzheimer's or another dementia today. It's out there, and for those maybe who have not experienced it, don't know the name, I mean, there's a lot more people out there dealing with this than you might realize.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, here's what happens is companies find themselves in a position where they have really strong employees that are struggling with this and find themselves having to take more time off of work and maybe even ultimately leaving their position with the organization that they're working for. So companies are now having to deal with the threat of maybe losing valuable employees because they're having trouble balancing all of that.
Well, you talked about balance. You talked about holding down jobs. Also, with that said, it is estimated that I guess 2/3 of the sandwich generation caregivers are holding down jobs.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
And so to be able to, basically, you're burning the candle at both ends.
All the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when you turned to the Alzheimer's Association, and you volunteered there for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, my initial contact with the Alzheimer's Association is when I moved back in with my mom and started being her caregiver. And I'm one of 5 children, and my siblings and I were all trying to collectively care for my mom. And we all had really different ideas on what that was going to look like.
yeah,
We all loved our mom, and we all wanted the very best. But based on our own experiences and relationships with her, we were struggling with one another, and there was a lot of tension. And initially, we turned to the Alzheimer's Association, and we were able to get a care consultation. And we're one of the few states in our union that is able to provide care consultations through the Alzheimer's Association. These care consultations are an opportunity for families, individuals to sit down with one of our care clinicians and actually talk about the challenges that they're facing specific to their situation. And the association helps really point you in directions of resources and opportunities and programs and services that can help navigate that very difficult journey that families have to take on.
So with that said, you then joined the Alzheimer's staff over a year ago.
I did. So yeah, after caring for my mom and getting all the education through the Alzheimer's Association and then volunteering for them for 10 years, going out and talking to groups and individuals about the programs and services and just education and helping them with this journey, I ended up joining the staff a year ago. And it's really kind of like made me take a full circle and understand that not only have I experienced the Alzheimer's Association as a recipient of services, a volunteer, and now on staff, it's really made me realize that this was kind of a calling that I had that put me on this journey. And I love the opportunity to really take what was a very challenging and difficult time in my life of having to make some tough decisions and care for my mom and go through that tough journey. And now being able to take all of that and give back and be able to go out and touch the lives of others.
Absolutely. Well, how fortunate the Alzheimer's Association has someone like you.
Well, there's a lot of us, I will tell you. That's not an uncommon story in our association.
And also people that you obviously now touch that are going through some of the same things that you went through.
Absolutely.
That there's no playbook for this.
There is not a playbook for
And
it.
so to understand what people are going through, at least through the experiences you've had, I'm sure means a lot. And for you to then take it to the next level, and now this is your livelihood, this is your mission.
Yes.
I think that surely says something about the organization and you.
So, yes.
Very nice. So let's just talk about the Alzheimer's Association. What does the Alzheimer's Association do?
It's more than most people know. There's a number of times where I might be at a health fair and a tabling event, and people will come by and be like, oh, wow, I wish we would have known about you when we had to go through this. So here's some of the things that we offer. In a community type of a level, I work across Butler and Warren County and work on educational programming, support groups, early social engagement programs to allow individuals who are diagnosed with any form of dementia to be able to come and have a social experience in a safe environment. Caregivers, we love on our caregivers because we know they are faced with a very difficult and oftentimes untrained situation where they don't know necessarily always the things that they need to do. And so we're out educating them and helping them along with that journey. So that's one piece of it, is our programs and services. Another area is our research. We spend a whole lot of time and energy on research. We're the largest nonprofit contributor to any type of Alzheimer's and dementia research. Oftentimes we have over 1,100 programs, research programs going on with individuals across the country, or actually across the world, where we are helping to find treatments, cures, preventions for any type of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Very good.
So another component is our fundraising, our development group, where we every year we host across the country over 600 Walk to End Alzheimer's. And right here in our area, we have one right here in Butler, Warren County, a Walk to End Alzheimer's.
Sure.
And we raise funds that help provide monies for research, but also for our programming right here in the local area.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think one of the key areas too in all this is that you're there to support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because everything that you've talked about basically lends itself to that support arm that you have out there.
It is, absolutely, because it's a well-needed, I guess, asset that we can provide
absolutely,
to here.
Absolutely. So today, over 7 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's?
Yes. Our figures just recently came out, and that continues to grow. And it is just continuing. Our projections just say it's going to continue to grow. And a lot of that really has to do with, we have this group of baby boomers, right, that are continuing to age. And right now, age is the number one risk factor. As we continue to age, our risk becomes greater in terms of having any form of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Sure. And interesting enough, when I look at this, you know this obviously, but Alzheimer's kills more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined.
That really sets me back every time I hear that.
Wow.
Yes, most definitely.
Wow, and that is amazing. But it's as you're talking about the baby boomers and getting older, this is not a normal part of aging, and it's a progressive brain disease, correct?
It is, yes, it absolutely is a progressive brain disease. So there's some misconceptions in terms of understanding the terms Alzheimer's and dementia, right? And that's one of the things that we are always out trying to help educate with as well. So the way we describe it is that dementia is the umbrella symptoms that someone experiences. It's that memory loss. It's that trouble finding words, the difficulty people have in terms of processing information and not able to make good decisions any longer. Sure. So those are the symptoms that we call dementia, and it's the umbrella term, all right? Now, what creates that dementia symptom or set of symptoms are a variety of diseases and or conditions that somebody will experience that is now causing these dementia symptoms. Alzheimer's is usually between 60 to 70% of the dementia cases that are diagnosed. So Alzheimer's is the one that's most popularly talked about, but there's other forms as well. There's vascular dementia. Somebody has a stroke, they lose blood flow to their brain, neurons die off, it creates a form of dementia in their brain. A lot of Parkinson's patients will experience dementia. You can have Lewy body's dementia. There's hundreds of different types of conditions that can create dementia-type symptoms.
Well, we're talking about the Alzheimer's Association, so let's, if you could, maybe give us a focus on some of the warning signs for people that would have Alzheimer's.
Sure. And so, as we age, there is a natural kind of decline in our cognition. It slows down, whatnot, but there are some very distinct differences between what we would perceive as normal aging and what we believe that might be some warning signs that there might be something more serious going on. So best way I can describe it is through an example. Oftentimes people will come up to me and be like, oh, I'm having trouble remembering people's names. I must be getting dementia. And I'm like, well, maybe not. It might be okay. And so there are often times where I'll be like in the grocery store, I turn down an aisle and all of a sudden I see somebody that looks familiar to me and they're like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, can't recall their name because they're totally out of context for me at the grocery store, right? Sure. And I keep thinking about it, not coming coming to me. And then later on in the grocery store, I'll be like, oh,
yeah.
she goes to the same gym I go to. And, you know, so I can make a connection on where I might know her. And then I can call a friend who I go to the gym with and be like, remember that lady, the long dark hair, and she wears those wild colored leggings all the time? What's her name? And so then I can get to that information. And why I may not be able to recall it myself immediately, I'm able to process it and get to that answer. Individuals with dementia oftentimes can't do that. They won't even know that they may even know you. And oftentimes it's common to hear that they forget who their own family members are and recognizing their own family members.
Absolutely.
So if you have a situation where you're like, I'm not quite sure if I know them and what their name is, usually okay.
Yeah.
But if you're getting to a point where you can't even make any type of a connection, that might be a time that you might want to get some extra help and understanding of what might be going on.
Well, that's a good example. And I believe on your website, if I remember correctly, you have like a chart of like 10 different warning signs.
Yes.
But within that chart, what you show is this would be dementia. This would be just the normal form of aging.
Yes.
And it gives the difference between the two.
Yes.
And I thought in looking through that surely made a lot of sense. That kind of put things in perspective.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
And go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, for another one for me is like my mom, our early warning sign for her is that she would keep asking what day of the week it was, or what is today? What day is, what is today? Now, my mom kept a calendar on her desk in the kitchen there, and she would be over there trying to look at it and figure out like what day it was. And she was not able to process that, you know, yesterday I had that doctor's appointment, so it must be the next day, right? And she wasn't able to do that anymore. Nor when she would ask, we would tell her, oh, what today is Friday, and it's, you know, and give her some context on, you know, and tomorrow we're going to go to a derby party or whatever the case may be. And she would ask the same question moments later without even remembering that she had asked the question, let alone what the answer was. So they just can't retain that information that they have just received in a short period of time.
Yep, very good. Since its beginning in 1980, what has been the impact of the Alzheimer's Association to date?
Yeah, so I think one of our biggest impacts right now has really been in the realm of research for a lot of reasons. One is we are now finally in this age of treatment, and this era of treatment is really allowing individuals to get treatments that allow them to have the progression of this disease slow down, giving them a longer quality of life. And we haven't had this age of treatment since its first inception of Alzheimer's was discovered 100 years ago. Oh my goodness. And so we've been living without that treatment. So we're excited about the era of treatment, and we're continuing to fight to find that cure and really a world without Alzheimer's or all other dementia is really our goal.
So are we making headway here?
Absolutely, we're making headway. Absolutely. We have 2021, we had our very first treatment. We have 2 additional treatments in place. Okay. But another thing that we're working on is being able to diagnose the Alzheimer's earlier.
Yes.
And so how are we doing that? Well, just to give you a little history on that,
Please.
Before the year 2000, the only way to diagnose if somebody had Alzheimer's is through an autopsy. Now, for that individual, it was obviously too late for them to know and be able to get any type of help or treatment. Right. Now, between 2000 and current, we are to a point where we can get some testing done in the form of MRI and spinal taps, which are very painful and expensive, but we do have the ability to do that now. We are on the verge, actually, of in research right now and getting very close to a point where we're able to diagnose through a biomarker, a blood biomarker. So taking a simple blood panel, much like you do anytime you go to a physician's office for your annual visit, they will take a blood panel to check your sugar levels, to check your glucose, all of those types of things. And this could be part of that, which is very exciting. Absolutely. And in fact, earlier this week, we were just at the State House for Advocacy Day, and there's a bill on the Ohio General Assembly to actually encourage insurance companies to be in a position to pay for and cover the expense of those biomarker tests that we're coming up with. So we're really making sure that we cover it at the very front end so that when it becomes available, cost is not a prohibitor for our general audience of being able to get diagnosed.
So do you see this as something that also could be hereditary?
There is a very small part of the population that is. So Alzheimer's itself, there are two different genes that create Alzheimer's. One of them we call is a deterministic gene. If you have it, you definitely will, that one specific gene, you will definitely have Alzheimer's. It will definitely manifest into Alzheimer's. And it is very much carried throughout the family line. Okay, so most everybody in that family line passes away. Now, those families have been identified, so the general audience should not be alarmed that their family has that gene. Most of those families have been identified at this point, and they're working very closely with the Alzheimer's Association and research and making sure that they're getting what they need. The other gene is called the risk gene. You can carry that gene, and it may lay dormant and never manifest into Alzheimer's. Wow. So but we don't know if it's going to or not from that perspective.
So this test you're talking about,
yes, the
blood
biomarker test, yes.
So can that help determine what you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely. It can definitely help. And even before you show signs, it can see if you have that marker in your bloodline.
So, you have your physician visit, and is this something today you can ask for? It's not covered by insurance yet. Tell us a little bit about this. As people watch this, they're thinking, I'd like to know more.
Not quite yet. So it is in a test mode right now. So there are selected areas where it is available, but it's in a test format. So we're working on fine-tuning it so that we can make sure that our accuracy is as high as possible. Right now, we're in about the 80% range, where 80% of the time we've been correct on those biomarker tests. And so we have some work to do, and we're continuing to do that. We'll have to go through, obviously, the FDA approvals and all of that.
So, Jacki, what can we do, if anything?
So we as individuals can really make sure that we're doing the right things to try and prevent. And while there is no guarantee, there are obviously signs that and research that shows in 4 specific areas, if we focus on these and do them right, it can help. One is through our nutrition. Keeping that very Mediterranean clean diet is very important, and keeping healthy foods coming into our bodies, right? Exercise, most definitely, is another one. Keeping physically active, keeping our heart strong, because what's good for our heart is good for our brain. 25% of the blood that we pump through our heart is really directed towards our brain. And that is the nourishment and the only nourishment that our brain gets. And so making sure that we're keeping that healthy. The other one is through socialization. As we age, oftentimes people stop socializing. They're not out doing and connecting with individuals, and we're meant to connect. And so keeping socialization up is really important, and staying social. And then finally is cognitive stimulation. Don't check out in life. Really start making sure that you're challenging yourself. Different ways of thinking, different books that you may read, games, puzzles, anything that keeps your mind stimulated. Other than, we often will say that social interaction through social media is probably not as strong as person-to-person social interaction. And the same with our gaming and those types of things, and our stimulation for our brain. Making sure it's connecting, not just one way.
Very good. Now, early on, you were talking about how fortunate we were to be in Ohio with Alzheimer's. I believe that you were mentioning that.
Yes.
So as we move forward with that, is Ohio then maybe a test market for this and moving forward?
It possibly could be. I'm not certain, to be honest with you. Yes. But yes, we do. We have a lot of wonderful medical facilities right here in our region that are doing a whole lot of research and a lot of work, and continuing to work with the Alzheimer's Association to help move that whole effort forward.
Very good. So as people are watching this today, they're saying, okay, I'd like to get connected to the Alzheimer's Association.
Yes.
How would they be able to do that?
So, well, there's a number of ways that they can do that. We have local chapters right here in the area. We're part of the Greater Cincinnati chapter, so you can look us up and give us a call anytime. We would love to come out and support organizations, communities in the form of education, support groups, any number of things for the people right here. There's another wonderful way to get involved as well, and that is organizations and individuals and families can form a walk team and join our walk. It's on September 13th, and it's going to be held at Corwin-Nixon Park in Mason. So it's our Butler-Warren County's walk, and it's a wonderful day of just celebration, a day of hope, and just really bringing people together for the cause.
So if someone would like to volunteer, like you started
Absolutely.
volunteering, how
Absolutely.
might they go about that?
Yep. Again, just reach out to us at the Alzheimer Association here at the Cincinnati chapter. We have a variety of ways to get involved, whether it's event planning on the walk side. I have a whole host of volunteers who help monitor support groups and facilitate those, who help go out and do education, who have been touched by this disease much like I was. So there's a variety of different opportunities, and we always welcome volunteers.
So best to call, email?
They can call or they can email me at jawilliams@alz.org. Additionally, individuals can reach us at our 800 number. It's a 24/7 helpline, and that number is 1-800-272-3900.
Very good. Well, this has been Jacki Williams, Program Director with the Alzheimer's Association, focusing on the southeastern Indiana, Butler and Warren counties. Jacki, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Appreciate the opportunity.
Java with Joe has been brought to you by Kemba Credit Union, sponsored in part by First Choice Coffee and Real Vision.
Also by Bethesda Butler Tri-Health Hospital and Cincinnati State Workforce Development Center.
Thanks for listening.